Swider Man. He's getting all the attention now.
Ooh, I like that. Swider Man. That might be Cole's new nickname.
Swider basket and a foul.
Eddie Casey.
Swider answered back. Swider from deep. Laces the three. Swider. And one. Count the bucket.
Welcome back to the Swider Show, everyone. And we're back, man. We just had a great conversation with our good friend and college basketball expert, Jake Marsh. If you guys are fans of the Swider Show, you guys have heard 2 episodes with him already. Obviously, he's very, very knowledgeable about college basketball, and we had a great conversation with him. But obviously, Patty, it's been a couple of weeks. How you doing, my guy?
I'm good, brother. It's good to be back.
Good to be back.
The Marsh. Oh, I have to say my line. Episode 62. Very fitting. We're recording this Monday night, the day that our absolute king, Jason Kelsey, retired. Number 62. So very fitting storylines. Jake Marsh loves storylines.
Yep.
But yeah, Jake, I think our listeners will appreciate the early preview, because a lot of people, like next week, the following week, leading up to Selection Sunday with conference tournaments going on, that's when you start getting your previews from pods, and it's like an oversaturation. So
yep.
If you're listening to this week on Thursday, you got some time to sink in, to watch the last day of the regular season, and then you have the knowledge you need in order to go into conference championship week. But also, did you just hear my roommates react or no?
No, I didn't.
They just yelled. It is Monday night, like I just said. Bachelor hometown episode tonight.
Wow.
So I missed the second hour of that in order to record the podcast. So we'll see who Joey picked. But if you guys don't think I'm sacrificing for the pod as well, then you got another.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
But you asked me how I was. How are you, Swider?
I'm doing well, man. Obviously, it's been a hectic time going back and forth. I was just in LA playing with Sioux Falls. Before that, I was in Sacramento playing with the big team after we had a couple suspensions due to the fight in New Orleans. And yeah, just been going back and forth. Back in Miami now. I'm going to be with the team for a couple of weeks and then headed back to the G League to finish the season there. So obviously, been having a ton of success in the G League, which has been great. We've been winning a ton of games. And then with the Heat, I feel like we're finally hitting our stride and figuring out how to play together. And playoff Jimmy is basically here, so it's been a great couple of weeks with the Heat.
Yeah, he's unreal when he's playing every night. Like, he just impacts the game as much as literally anyone in the NBA. But can we start there right now? Because you were on the bench for that fight. I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
But what was running through your mind as that is like all going down?
Well, I was just confused at first because I think Kevin, like, he was literally trying to like help Zion. Like, he wasn't even trying to like put him.
It was not like grounds for a brawl at all.
No. And I think if you know Jimmy and you've watched Jimmy play over the past couple of years, like, he lives for like the competition of like physicality, right? Like him versus Grant Williams last year in the playoffs. Like, he's had multiple like times like that where he just like loves just like the competitive fire of stuff like that. So when Najee Marshall came over, like, it was just perfect for Jimmy because Jimmy just loved. He's such a competitive guy.
You're right.
That he just loved that. And then I think the weirdest part was that like Thomas Bryant was like over there like to de-escalate the situation. He talked about like I was just like not stepping on the court because I know the rules about if you step on the court.
Is that still a rule?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. It is, like, no matter what, because the famous example for that is like in like 06 or 07 or whatever when Amari Stoudemire ran out and he got suspended against the Spurs. I couldn't remember if that was still like cut and dry. If you go on the court, you're suspended. Yeah,
so like Thomas was over there like making sure I'm not stepping on the court. I'm getting over there, and then Jose Alvarado just kind of like took a little stab at him.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden Thomas is activated. And it kind of starts something else, and then Niko Jovic is in the middle of it, which is so funny because Nico talks about how last year he got suspended in a game when Caleb kind of tackled. Who did he tackle last year? Yeah,
I forget.
Nico talks about how he got suspended from an NBA game before he even touched the court in an NBA game. So
wait, last year?
Yeah, last year. Yeah. So shout out to Nico for obviously doing those things, right? For stepping up for his teammates, But yeah, overall, it just seemed like a very like weird way to get into a fight. You know what I mean? And obviously, we were able to win the game, and and then it was funny because we had 2 days off in between games. The Pelicans only had 1 day off, and they had to get the suspensions out before the Pelicans played again. So we were waiting on. I think we were playing on a Monday against the Kings, and on Sunday morning the suspensions came out. We went and practiced, and we kind of figured out who was going to play, who was not going to play. And then you had the famous. We obviously beat Sacramento, a great team win. A lot of guys stepped up. And then you had Jimmy Butler on his Instagram story cheering on the Heat and having all the suspended guys.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Where were they?
They were just at a local restaurant in Sacramento.
Oh, so they travel still.
Yeah. They still travel with us. They were practicing with us. But you just can't be in the arena like the night of the
There's like
game.
pictures on the door. Do not let Jimmy Butler and Nikola Jovic in.
Yeah, exactly.
My question to, I mean, you don't have to go into too much detail about it, but like, is the coach staff like mad at guys after they get in the fight, or is it just kind of like?
I'll tell you what, Spo is such a competitor that if it comes from a competitive spirit of trying to back up your brothers and back up your teammates,
he probably almost likes it. Yeah,
he liked it, and one of the things that Spo said, he said he felt like it was kind of a defining moment for our team of coming together. He felt like that was like the spark we needed to like go into the second half of the season after All-Star break and come together. We had 2 great wins right before All-Star break against at Milwaukee, at Philly, and then we kind of just continued that trend. Winning at New Orleans, who's a really good team in the Western Conference, at Sacramento, and then winning at Portland, which isn't easy, and then we had a really competitive game against Denver. So we've there's no moral victories as a Miami Heat player, but I think that game, I don't think we played well against Denver, and we found a way to kind of make it really, really competitive. So I think we're in a really good spot. I think the team's coming together in a really good time, and man, we're clicking right now.
That's the biggest difference, though. To the beginning of your answer, there is, I feel like that's one of the biggest differences between like the NBA when you're dealing with actual grown men and in college where it's like they're still. I mean, I guess Jovic is literally he can't
20.
even legally drink yet, but I always was like kind of curious about that with NBA players because I feel like Spo wouldn't get in the huddle and be like scolding guys for getting in a fight if it came from like a good place. It was just weird too. Like Kevin Love just was like, "What are you doing? Why are we fighting?"
Well, he was trying to help Zion.
Yeah, he was like, "This is not my intention at all." Zion just kind of like almost like tripped on his own in a way, so it made it look worse. But
no, I totally agree.
There was like no malicious intent there.
I totally agree.
But that Kings win that you referenced was just a classic like Heat culture win.
1,000%, man. I mean, we were down bodies. I got thrown into the game early to give Duncan a rest, and those guys battled, and they found a way to win the game. Bam's been a freaking Bam's. I mean, you guys have heard me praise Bam enough, but he was unbelievable in that game. We saw Vintage Jaime Jaquez in that game, and shout out to DeLon Wright. He made a bunch of big plays, winning plays, and then Caleb Martin's just the ultimate competitor. Ultimate competitor found a way to put his fingerprints all over that game.
Yeah, DeLon Wright looks like another classic Heat buyout find where he's going to end up being like really, really good for you guys. I
think the biggest thing about DeLon is that he's so low maintenance. He's willing to play whatever role that you give him, and that's exactly what you need to find in a buyout player at this time of the year, especially for a team that's contending for a championship. He can come in and be that plug guy and give you 6 to 7 minutes when the team needs it. He can also play 30 minutes in a game and be a very, very good defender, a good shooter, a player who can space the floor, and ultimately just a high IQ guy. And DeLon is just such a good human being. He fits our team. He fits our culture, and I really like that sign. I didn't know too much about him before we got him, but he's been a really great get for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been a solid NBA player for like close to a decade now.
No, for sure.
The other thing I was going to say about that game is Duncan Robinson, 11 assists.
11 assists. I mean,
he wasn't diming out.
Yeah, he wasn't making shots, and he was really upset about it after the game. Like, bro, like you had 11 assists.
Yeah, that's crazy.
11.
That goes to the the point that we were making on the show, or when he was on the show like a month ago, where every announcer is like, Duncan Robinson, he's more than a shooter. He can actually make some plays this year. And I don't know. I feel like he's probably always been able to do that, but this year he's definitely shouting it out a little bit more.
It was so funny. I went to him after the game. I was like, chill out, Rondo. Like, talking about the assist. And he thought I was talking about him not being able to shoot. I'm like, all right, bro. Come on. Like, stop having these fucking dark thoughts. Like, just, you're good.
That is so funny. That's such a relatable thing. You're just like, damn, I'm getting chirped.
No, it's like, bro, I'm complimenting you. You're a good player.
Yeah. But what is your... We got, what, 45, 50 minutes with Jake Marsh, so we don't have to screw around too much in the pre-show here. But a little update on your schedule moving forward. Do you know, like, I know you're in Miami now, but... Yeah,
no, the plan is for now to be with the team for the next 2 weeks, kind of just be here, obviously, whenever they need me. And then after around the 17th, I'm going to be with the G League team the rest of the season and finish out that playoff run. Obviously, the Skyforce is the number one team in the G League right now.
Cooking.
So we're cooking. We actually lost a bunch of our guys, which is a good thing. Drew Peterson, obviously early in the year, got a two-way with the Celtics. Justin Champagne just got a two-way with the Wizards. Jamar Bouye just got a two-way with the San Antonio Spurs.
Right.
So those are obviously big pieces to our team that we've lost. But Man obviously got a two-way with us. So 4 guys who were all just
that's nuts.
A part of the team as G League players have gotten called up. So obviously it's always good when your guys get called up. And I mean, it makes sense. We're the number one team in the G League, and we've gotten guys called up. So really happy for those guys that they've got called up. Now it's time for other guys to step up and be a big part of the team and continue for this championship run.
That is the tough part with the G League, though, in a way. It's like bittersweet because Bouye was awesome. And now it's like, damn, now we just lost like this nasty point guard that I was playing with every game. But on the flip side, it's awesome for him in his career.
1,000%. And it's one of those things where, like, as a G League coach, you obviously want to win a bunch of games, but you also want to, like, help people achieve their dreams of playing in the NBA.
Right.
And
that's the whole point.
You've seen a bunch of guys in the past couple of days get called up for two-way contracts, but also get converted from two-way contracts to standard contracts. And I think that's one of the things that the CBA, there's not a lot of positives with the CBA in terms of the NBA players, but I do think it's a good thing for like the players who are right on the bubble, because you get these players on these contracts that the teams have a lot of control in, and get more guys opportunities in the NBA based off of them wanting to stay under the first apron. So
why do you say there's not too many positives?
Because
it go into full detail, but
well, the CBA kind of took away the middle contract. So you have the mid-level exception, but if your team's in the first or second entry, you don't have a mid-level exception anymore, and it pretty much makes
guys.
Can
you explain real quick what a mid-level exception was?
A mid-level exception is a $12.4 million exception that the team can have, and you can break that up into multiple players or just give that to one player.
I didn't know you could do multiple players.
You can do multiple
That's
players, yeah. So basically, it basically makes it so you have players who are making close to the max contract or making minimum contracts.
Right.
So, like, for example, like, I think the first apron this year is $132 million. LeBron, AD, D'Lo combined will make like $127 million. So that leaves $11 million to make it under the first apron. The first apron, right? And then you're gonna go into that first apron and then lose the mid-level exception, and you kind of just have to fill your roster out with minimum guys. So it takes away the guys who have the ability to be $15 million a year players, or $10 million or $8 million, and you have to sign these guys to minimum contracts who may be worth more than minimum contracts in before the old CBA.
That's what I was gonna say. You're gonna start to see some guys that it's like, I guess we need to spend this money. You probably wouldn't be making this much ideally, but like because of that rule, you end up giving him maybe more than he would have in like previous years.
Yeah, well, the only thing is just that, like, so there is a floor, there's a salary floor, so teams can't not spend, like they can't not spend money, right? They have to spend a certain amount of money, but there also is a there's penalties once you get into those aprons. It's not like you get fined extra money once you get to that second apron. Like that's why the Warriors had to trade. They had to trade one of the players that they had on. They had to trade Wiggins. They had to trade Poole. They had to trade Clay. They had to trade Draymond. They had to find a way to get under those aprons because they were getting taxed so much. They were getting fined so much money.
Yeah, they were way over it.
Way over. They're actually paying more in fine money than they were actually paying for salaries. With the CBA. So, I mean, it's gonna make teams like the whole entire idea behind making these aprons is to make it a more balanced NBA. Make it so teams can't have dynasties.
Yeah, but like part of it is like that kind of ends up screwing over the product even more in a way. I think if you're having these guys that like the other thing that kind of sucks about it from a fan perspective too is you're not going to see guys making, I don't know, $18 million a year, and those are always like the tradable contracts. So I feel like there's going to be less fun trades now because it's going to be so much harder to patch together a trade.
And also, yes, I agree with you, but I also think that guys aren't going to go into free agency anymore. They're just going to sign that extension 2 years out, like the Anthony Edwards, like all these guys are doing. And then they're going to end up requesting a trade. There's going to be it's always going to be trades now. It's not going to be big free agency signings like we saw in the past with LeBron and like we saw in the past with all these guys. They're always going to sign that extension. Like AD signed that extension this past summer. Giannis signed the extension this past summer. Like there was some buzz like Giannis going to the Knicks, right? Like there was like some buzz about all these. Nope, like you're just going to sign these extensions. They're not going to risk it. If you have $180 million in front of your face for 3 years, you're going to sign that extension.
Right. Yeah, I guess that is a good rebuttal of my trades point, but it is. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your point.
No, I didn't even really have a point. I was just going to patch together some words. I was going to do the Michael Scott. I don't know where this is going to end, but our job is to speak into this microphone, so I had to bullshit something. So
were you saying that because you're from Scranton, or?
That is a shout out to Scranton.
Yep.
But no, I got to rewatch The Office. I haven't watched it in so long.
Yeah, but yeah, enough of this NBA talk. We have a great college basketball preview with Jake Marsh. Obviously, listen to the second half of this episode. But go Cuse, man. We're all rooting for Cuse to get in the tournament. I think we're a couple wins away from really getting on the bubble. We have a full breakdown of our thoughts about Syracuse going to the tournament. But before we get into the episode, I just want to shout out Red, shout out GMAC, shout out the whole entire Syracuse team. You guys did an unbelievable job representing us this year. And I think the program is in a very great trajectory under Red Austrie and under Jerry McNamara.
Yeah, year one has gone as far as I think it's exceeded expectations on every front, wouldn't you say?
I mean, when you have 6 sophomores leading the way, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, and they're just not a team. I said this exact same thing with Marsh, but they're not a team you want to see in a tournament with one day to prepare for them. So I think they could definitely go on a run here, which I'm sure is shocking for you guys to hear that me and Swider are firmly in the camp that they should make the tournament, and then when they do, they'll make the Final Four. But no, they definitely they're playing really well the exact time you want to be. So we'll see. It all comes down to that Clemson game tomorrow.
No doubt, man. But without further ado, I think we're gonna kick it over to Jake Marsh here.
Wait, one last point.
Go ahead.
Because I forgot about it. We're gonna table the question I teased last week. Remember, I said, "What is the next revolution of basketball?"
Yep.
We'll hit you guys with our answers next week because this is already 70-minute power hour show. So we'll save that. So keep thinking on that one if you're listening right now. But like Swider said, without further ado, we'll kick it to our college basketball expert, part of my takes, Jake Marsh.
Welcome back to the Swider Show, everyone. Episode 62. We have a reoccurring guest, one of our favorite guests, college basketball expert, part of my take, just big time guest, and a good friend of mine. Recently toured the Chicago office back in November with him. Our good friend Jake Marsh. Jake Marsh, let's get the applause going for Jake Marsh, man.
Wow, so many applause.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me back.
No, I appreciate you coming on the show. Yeah, man. How you been? Obviously, you've been doing a lot lately. You were just talking to Patty about your recent weekend. Tell us about that. Tell us about your recent weekend.
Yeah, so I was down in Florida. I was in Jacksonville, so a little bit north of you, Cole. But I
Yeah.
was broadcasting the PGA Tour for the first time, which was really cool. It was the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. There's some big tournaments in Florida for the PGA Tour, and this was the first one. So I got to work with some great people. And yeah, the PGA Tour is great. I'm a huge golf fan. Growing up in Florida, it's always been part of my life and playing it, but obviously getting a chance to broadcast it too, and seeing guys like Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, Matt Fitzpatrick playing, and I'm calling it is pretty cool.
I apologize for making you repeat this because we just had the exact same conversation while we were chopping up on the Zoom. But how is golf compared to other sports? Because like we were just saying, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of like random stuff that happens throughout a golf tournament that you're not going to get in any other sport, really.
Yeah, it's very different. I'd say the only thing that is similar between golf and broadcasting other sports is talking to your producer, director, and analysts, because like within the sports, like football and basketball, it's like there's ebbs and flows and there's times and there's runs and things like that. Golf is just like, all right, we have a Rory McIlroy shot, and then we jump 6 holes ahead to Ricky Fowler putting, and it's just like it's all over the place. You really have to be on your toes, and if you're calling a basketball game, you know what you're getting. Here, you're relying on your producer to tell you where you're going because you're looking on a monitor.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not watching anything in person.
Right.
It's on a monitor because it's impossible. The course is too big. But yeah, it was a great challenge and a lot of fun. It was very different.
It's so funny watching Jim Nantz call it. It just seems like so easy. You know what I mean? And obviously, you don't know the prep work that goes into it. You don't know all the things that go into it. But those guys, like, they're just such seasoned vets, and they've just been doing it for so long. Like, Jim Nantz just nails every single call, says the right thing every single time. Do you ever have like that feeling where you're like, all right, like I know what to call here, or is it just more just a feel in the moment?
Yeah, I mean, if a guy's lining up for a 40-foot putt, you obviously start thinking about what would happen if it goes in. Then as you see it getting closer to the hole, you're like, all right, think of a word, and something comes out of your brain. So it's different. But yeah, Jim Nantz is obviously one of the GOATs in the business. We're not going to have Jim Nantz week anymore. So what he would do,
I know.
he would go from the final four, and then the championship is Monday night, and then he would fly straight to Augusta every year, first thing Tuesday, and have the Masters. So he would have Final Four Masters back to back, but obviously he's not doing college basketball anymore. Now Ian Eagle, fellow Syracuse alum, is taking over for the number one spot.
Yeah.
So he'll be doing the Final Four. But yeah, Nance is still doing the Masters, and this is Vern Lundquist's last Masters as well this year. So end of
way.
legend. Yeah, he announced.
That sucks.
I mean, he retired from football and basketball a while ago, but he's just gone to the Masters because who wouldn't want Masters?
You have to wonder. Oh, sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, he's going to be at the 16th tower the whole tournament. This will be it.
Yeah.
But great.
You have to wonder. I know you guys love this bit on Part of My Take, but with the Nance tie not being around anymore, it might be like less motivation for teams to actually cut down the net.
I don't know about that, but yeah, there's not going to be anyone on the edge of their seats to see who will be getting the tie.
All right, Swider, should we cut to the chase here? I feel like, we have Jake now. We said last time he's our college basketball expert now. I was kind of like deciding whether we should start at a whole, like on college basketball, but I think we should just go right to the orange because most of our listeners, that's who they're invested in. That's who us three are invested in. So what do you put like their chances of the tournament right now, and then also from your standpoint as a fan, as someone who's like following the program, how do you think year one of Red has turned out?
Yeah, definitely. Looking at all these bracket projections and bracket matrix, which is basically one website that has every bracketology, Syracuse is not in any of them.
It's crazy.
Which doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Look, Cole, you were there, obviously, when this happened. Every year when they were on the bubble before, you could point to, all right, they lost to a Bryant team. They lost to a Colgate. They lost to a
Not this
mid-major.
year.
Not this year. They didn't lose. They didn't have any horrible losses. Georgia Tech a few weeks ago is bad, but it's a road conference game. But I
And
guess
Duke lost to them on the road.
yeah, BC
UNC
not the
lost to them
greatest,
too.
Yeah, UNC
not the
lost to them.
greatest,
But
but
BC's beating some teams in the ACC. Like we're talking about like teams losing the conference, like to teams in the conference all the time.
yeah, and I understand the ACC is down this year, but when's this airing?
Thursday
Thursday.
morning.
Okay, so we'll know about the Clemson game, but
Right.
I think if you beat Clemson Tuesday night, we're recording this Monday night. If you beat Clemson Tuesday night, they'll start popping up in like the next routes, and then in that case, you're still gonna need probably at least 2, probably 3 to actually have a real chance, just based off what we're seeing. Obviously, we're a little biased and we think they deserve to be higher up, but at this point, unfortunately, and you guys tell me if you feel differently, I think you're just running out of games. There's one regular season game left.
Yeah, I always think that Lenardi and the committee have like this disconnect every single year. Like, there's always like two or three teams that they hold high. The committee holds in a higher standing than Lenardi does, and Lenardi holds in a higher standing than the committee does. So I don't know where we really stand, because I do think the ACC slept on. Right, like I don't think it's that bad of a conference. I think what the problem is every single year is that you have a non-conference schedule where if the conference doesn't produce in the non-conference schedule, I mean, rightfully so, like they basically just write off the conference. Well, you get into conference and it's like, all right, now the only good teams are Duke and UNC now. Those are the only wins that matter. So it's like it just puts the conference in a really tough spot to even gain ground throughout the whole entire year. And then like when you look at the non-conference schedule, no one was really in a bad spot besides Louisville going to before the actual conference play started. So I just think it's been a tough year for the ACC, and I think just not having like the Louisville be a tournament team like they were in the past.
Yeah.
Like Miami falling off this year.
Miami is
was
like
tough.
really bad.
And usually FSU is like in the mix.
Yeah.
Right.
Off a few years, and then you'll have like an occasional fellow bubble team. I guess Pitt. They have Pitt in a better spot than Syracuse.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Like what? So explain that. Explain that to me.
Syracuse
to us.
swept Pitt.
They
Yeah, they
swept
won at
them. Yeah.
Pitt has a win at Duke. That's as good of a win. No one will have a better win in the ACC than that. So like that stands out.
Yeah, but did Pitt lose to someone bad? I'm looking at their
They lost
schedule
to
right now.
Mizzou at home.
And they lost to Boston College, right?
Missouri's 8-21.
No, Pitt didn't lose to BC.
They lost to
Yeah,
Clemson
their
lost to
other
Cuse
losses
twice.
besides Syracuse are Florida, who's going to be a tournament team. Mizzou's the bad one. Clemson could be. UNC, Duke, Miami, Wake, Clemson. So, I guess.
Yeah, those are all I guess good losses.
Yeah, and winning at Duke, it's like if there's a tiebreaker, like that's it. Unfortunately, I think.
But the home win against UNC though, it has to at least be up. Obviously, it's not gonna be the same as winning at Duke, but that should at least get us to here. So when we beat them twice, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean they have the whole quadrant system and all that. But look, Lenardi's been wrong about Syracuse every time. My only concern is that past years it's like, all right, Lenardi has them out, but Jerry Palm and other guys have them in. No one has them on the radar right now. Unfortunately,
Right.
That's what makes me nervous.
They're not even peaking up. They're not even like next 4 in.
Yeah, that's why like I think if they win tomorrow at Clemson, then you'll start getting some respect and appearing on the sheets. But then that still leaves you with a lot of room next week. However, like you guys said, the ACC is not great this year, unfortunately. I agree they might be slept on, but in terms of like for sure tournament teams, 2, 3, 4, maybe like.
Well, I saw in the recent bracketology there were six teams from the ACC. There was only
really?
5 teams from the Big East.
6 the most recent one?
How is Cuse isn't one of the 6?
No.
I'm seeing
Who
5
is it then?
Pitt as a next
Yeah.
4 out team.
And then who's the next 4 out team? Pitt.
Pitt, yeah.
Okay. So maybe I saw one.
They had Pitt in.
I think they had Pitt in the one that I saw.
This was I don't think this was a bracket. This is just a tweet that Lenardi posted with like his bubble and top seeds. So I'm sure it's very fluid.
Is Wake in? Is Wake in?
Yes, they're the last team in right now.
Wow. And they in the one that I saw, they had UNC, Duke, Virginia, Clemson, Pitt, Wake.
Virginia shouldn't be allowed to be in the tournament.
Virginia and Wake they have as the last 4 in.
Yeah.
So there might be a world where there's only 3 teams in.
Right.
Like depending on how things shape up. But like you guys said, usually Syracuse, their bracket in the NCAA tournament or the ACC tournament is like, all right, you can win a game or two and then you're going to have a really tough game. It's open for them to do it.
That's a good way to look at it, yeah.
Like you do control your own destiny in that sense, and especially they're in contention for that double bye.
Yeah.
You'd only have to win 3 games in 3 days. So, I mean, all it takes is one hot stretch.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I've seen the debate of would you rather not get the double bye so that you have the opportunity to add a win to your resume?
I agree.
What do you think? You'd rather not get the bye, prove yourself again?
Well, obviously, you want to win. You just want to win the tournament, right?
Right.
But when it comes to it, I think if you were to choose between a win against Wake Forest, a win against Pitt, and then have the opportunity to get another win against Virginia, and then maybe lose in the semifinals, I would probably take that over just beating one team.
The argument there would be how do they get – right now they're in the double bye, so in order to fall, they'd probably have to lose tomorrow, right?
Well, there's 4 teams with 8 losses at the time of this recording, so I don't know how the tiebreakers are lined up.
Yeah.
Wake plays Clemson on Saturday, so that breaks up at the 4 seed. So if everything goes according to schedule, we'll be actually the 5, even if we win tomorrow. If Wake wins out, they're the 4.
So best case scenario, I think, is Syracuse wins against Clemson, but drops to the 5 somehow, right? Because
I guess so, yeah. If you're looking at it as you want more games.
Yeah, if you beat Clemson, you're at 21. If you win 2 games, you're gonna be and then lose, you're 23-11.
That's gotta get in.
Yeah.
That's gotta get in.
It also
tough.
depends.
The whole conference has just been like almost like it's
mediocre.
like 2 steps forward, 1 step, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Is that the saying? But like Wake beats Duke and then they lost to ND and Virginia Tech back to back. Yeah. Or like we beat UNC and then like we immediately lose to Georgia Tech. It's like I feel like every team has a part of the schedule where they get a huge win. It's like, oh, they're actually legit, and then they end up having head scratcher.
Also,
and Virginia's the most head scratching team in the country this year. I don't get them at all.
I'm not even scratching my head at them. I'm just not watching.
They won 8 in a row. Now they've lost 6. They got waxed against their last 3 losses.
Virginia Tech
41, 44, 48. 48. They just lost by 25 against Duke. That was their best scoring output.
They won and scored like 48 points against Wake. They were literally limping to 50 points.
Yeah, that's a weird one. But, yeah, Cuse, I don't know, unfortunately. I mean, look, like we said, there's no, like, heavy favorite in the ACC besides Duke and UNC. If you only have to beat one of them, depending on how the bracket shapes up, like,
right,
a few games in a few days. I know Syracuse hasn't had that much success in the ACC tournament, but to your guys' question earlier, like, Red, I think I don't know how high the expectations were this year, but I think it's fine. I don't think anyone had. I think people are gonna, assuming they don't make it in and they go to like the NIT or whatever. I think there's a lot of positivity to look forward to.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, we're only playing sophomores right now, and then we have a top 30 player in the country coming in, and then Red will probably do his thing in the transfer portal like he did last year.
Yeah. So look, especially if you win against Clemson and the regular season with 5 wins in a row, like. It's a shame because I think that Georgia Tech game really killed them.
Yeah.
Brutal. Right after the UNC game, it was a letdown.
Right.
They stormed the court, right? And
yeah,
you go on the road, you can't lose to Georgia Tech because it's an entirely different conversation. Because if you beat Georgia Tech, you're talking about not losing since February 10th, winning 6 in a row.
Right.
And a chance for like the 2 seed in the ACC tournament. But that game. What do you guys think? I think that might have been the dagger if they don't end up getting in.
I'm a little less pessimistic than you guys. Like, I think that we beat Clemson tomorrow. People start to talk about it. We get that 5 seed, like you said. Like, we get lucky. I think like Wake takes the 4, and then, I think you just need one win in the ACC tournament. That gets you what, 22, 21 according to the net. But
I think they got to win more than one game.
Yeah.
All right.
But I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because the problem is if you're the 5 seed and you only win one game, that means you lost to like Virginia or like some bad team. You know what I mean?
I didn't say. Yeah, I think I think that they'll be in the conversation with one win in the AC tournament if we beat Clemson tomorrow. Like at Clemson, that's a tough win.
Yeah,
however,
that's a quad one.
I think they have a fantastic opportunity to keep winning after that, especially if it's Virginia or Wake or Clemson again. It might be any of those teams we could see in that second game. I don't know.
Yeah,
our squad, we've talked about it all year on this pod, but they're not a team you want to match up with like in an ACC tournament. Because like when they played UNC, it was literally just like, we have the 2 best players on the court right now, and we're going to win.
Right. I'll say this, though. As pessimistic as most of us are being about like getting in, maybe just me, I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
I think this is their best chance to make a run in the ACC tournament. Like they're always good for a win or two, but then like we said, like they're double-digit underdogs. Yeah. I don't see any situation where they're more than like an 8-point underdog next week.
Right.
So
yeah, there's no like Paolo and AJ Griffin waiting for you in the next round.
Yeah.
Jake, let's move on from the Orange. Obviously, we're all rooting for the Orange to get in. I think Red's done a terrific job this year, especially from just the expectations going into the season. Any other college basketball takes? Let's go to the Big East Conference right now. I think UConn's been the best team all year. I don't think it's been close. Obviously, I think Purdue with Zach Edey is a tough out. But when it comes to a complete team, I think UConn's been the best team all year. And then shout out to our guy Tyler Kolek. He actually just got hurt with an oblique injury.
How long is he out?
Should be a couple weeks.
They said he'll be reevaluated before the Big East tournament.
Yeah.
So that's hopefully, brutal. Yeah.
Tonight on Saturday, I was like, Marquette plus 8.5. What the hell is going on here? So I bet on them, and then I turned on the game. And the first thing I saw was Cole looking street close. Total nightmare.
Yeah. But what would you say about the Big East? You have any surprise picks in the Big East?
The Big East is awesome. Obviously, UConn. This is the best chance of someone going back to back since the Gators did. Obviously, no one's done it since then, but I mean, they're going to be a 1 seed. Hurley's the best. I don't know. I mean, Marquette depends on Kolek's injury. Mm-hmm. I feel like Creighton's due to break through, right?
Yeah.
Coach McDermott just came on our show after they beat UConn. And they've got a bunch of veterans. Coach who's been around for a while. I feel like it's now or never for them. Do you guys agree? Like if they don't break through here and maybe make the Elite Eight or final, I guess they already made an Elite Eight, I think, but they'll make the Final Four. Like their fan base is probably like it's never gonna happen.
Right.
Well, I also think that you have a chance to keep those guys another year. With Kalkbrenner could come back for a 5th year. What's his name? Trey Alexander.
Is Shireman coming back?
Year. No, Shireman can't come back.
But I was going to say he's like 25.
But those 2 guys could come back for another year, and Creighton has that NIL budget to get them back as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I really think like I'm sure the fan base is putting a lot of pressure on them because they have it, but will they do it? We don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I like them. I like them to win the Big East tournament. I feel like they can get real hot, go on that run. Yeah, that's a take. I didn't even have that planned. I just thought of that on the spot.
Is there a sleeper pick in the Big East for you, Jake?
So you have those 3. I like what Shaheen Holloway's done this year with Seton Hall.
Besides last night.
Yeah, but overall, UConn beat him by 30.
Oh damn! Really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but they're right on the bubble. So they're going to be one of those teams. And going back to the Syracuse thing, kind of relates. The bid stealers. The bid stealers could be ultimately what kills Cuse.
Right.
Yep.
So if you're a Syracuse fan, you just have to root for all chalk on Champ Week, which we know is probably not going to happen. No. But as much chalk as possible is what you're rooting for. And the conference tournaments, they started tonight on Monday night. think the ASUN quarterfinals began.
Oh, really?
Really excited.
That's
The
awesome.
best time. It's the best time of the year. It's the
Oh,
holidays.
it's freaking awesome.
So starting today until the next 5 weeks, you're gonna have some sort of bracket game, which is very
Right.
exciting.
How do you feel about the Johnnies?
The Johnnies are actually coming here to Chicago. They
They played DePaul, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Do they play DePaul or they're getting a win at DePaul?
both. Yeah. But yeah, Coach Pitino, I feel like I don't know. Year one, 3 straight wins against Creighton. That was one of them, but
Yep.
closed at DePaul and Georgetown, so you have to win both of those. Let me see. Let's see where Bracket Matrix has them.
I don't know. I don't necessarily understand. We keep going back to Cuse, but I have no clue how St. John's is thought of higher than Cuse.
Yeah, I mean the Pitino effect. I don't know how much.
Yeah, that's actually
is,
probably exactly what it is.
but they don't necessarily have any great wins either.
Mm-hmm.
At Villanova, Villanova's 24 on KenPom, and they're
It's ridiculous. It's
that's
ridiculous.
so high.
Bro,
Yeah.
obviously, I was at Villanova, but
Yeah.
they lost to St. Joe's, Drexel, and
Every
UPenn.
Philly team. Yeah,
So
they finished last in the Big Five.
it's just a weird.
But
Can,
wins
can,
against
it's just-
UNC and Creighton,
yeah.
They
No,
also
they-
lost
they-
to Michigan though.
They do have some good wins. Texas Tech, Memphis, they have some good wins for sure. But they've lost some bad games for sure.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a tough one too. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think a lot of it's going to work itself out. I'm sure by the time we get to Selection Sunday, there's going to be an imaginary 2 spots for 3 or 4 teams.
Right.
Yep.
It's going to come down to that annual debate. Is it going to be the team like Syracuse or Pitt, where it's a middle of the pack ACC team, or is it going to be one of those mid-major conference champion regular season teams that gets bounced? And there's always those debates. And usually, fortunately for Syracuse, they seem to always pick those power conference teams. But
Right.
never know.
Yeah. Hopefully it works out. How about shifting gears to the SEC? I was dying to ask you about Kentucky because I watched probably their last 5 games. I think, did I text this in our group, Swider, that they're as entertaining as any team of our lifetime, or no?
No, I don't think I saw that.
I just think watching them play it's as entertaining of college basketball form as you could possibly
Bold. I mean,
But,
they put up NBA numbers, 117 and 111 the last 2
get.
Saturdays.
Yeah,
Insane.
it's
Unbelievable.
crazy.
And one of them
And,
against Alabama.
They've had 6 guys this year who've scored 25 or more points in a game.
Yeah, but the defense.
I know, that's what I was going to ask. How legit do you think they are
This
actually
game against
in March?
Arkansas. When do you guys think the last time 2 teams scored 100 in a college game without overtime?
Yeah, there's no shot that's happening in a
It's probably
Power
been a
5
while.
school this year. Yeah, unless Kentucky might have fucking done it this year.
111, 102 in regulation. Kentucky put up 117 and Alabama had 95, but wow. Yeah, they're
I honestly love it though. I love
it's the
those high
best.
scoring games.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. The more points, the better. But yeah, they had the buzzer beater. Was it Reed Shepherd last week?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So they play at Tennessee. I know people are high on Tennessee, and there's a good chance they end up with a 1 seed. I'm not touching
With
that.
8 losses.
Really?
With,
I can't touch them. They do this every year. They have a great regular season. Obviously, this is the best regular season they're having in a while, but they always flop in the tournament.
But why is that? Just Rick Barnes?
They just
I know Big Cat loves saying that.
you just
Rick
it's
Barnes
kind
and
of
Marsh.
like the debate they were having on who to pick in the Super Bowl. It's like if you
Yeah.
pick Mahomes and lose, you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I took Mahomes. I can't lose sleep over that. But if you bet against Mahomes and lose, you feel like an idiot. And it's like if you take Tennessee here in the tournament, it's like it's Tennessee. So they have to prove it to me before I start believing in them.
Yeah, that's very fair. My rebuttal would just be Dalton Connect is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's great. But
he's had an unbelievable year, but he had this weird stretch. He must have been injured or something because he had this weird stretch where he just didn't play well for a 7-game stretch early in the year.
yeah, they destroyed Syracuse and Maui, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh
That
Yeah.
was tough.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Do you think the Cuse is going to pull out the 2-3 zone for the ACC tournament? Because that works every single year in those high-pressure games.
I feel like they have a better chance of success in the regular tournament if they make it, right? Because the ACC teams are more likely to be aware.
Well, not this year.
Yeah, I guess not this year. I mean, how's the defense been?
I think it's been
fine.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It's obviously not a top 30 defense in the country, but it's definitely not a bottom defense either.
I mean,
No,
I think it
I don't
depends
watch
on the type
games
of
in
team you're
2-3.
playing. If you're playing Virginia, you know they're not going to score more than 50.
Right.
But, like,
Yeah.
whether you win or lose is up for debate. So I guess it depends on the team. Like, whoever it's like Duke is the number 7 offense on KenPom. It's like a team that's really good at scoring. Maybe you'll catch them off guard, but I think it just depends on the matchup.
Are you a big KenPom guy? Is that what you
Yeah.
go to? Is that your go-to?
If I'm not looking at you guys on the camera, I'm looking at my monitor and I have KenPom up. I just
I've
look
actually never visited KenPom.
it's worth
Wow.
like $20 a year. And you know what, Cole?
Oh, it's a subscription.
Yes, yeah, but it's worth it. The coaches use it for like their prep.
Oh yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
It's a legit thing. Like for scout, like they're looking at numbers on KenPom and every player, and it has everything.
Patty, we were the number 10 offense in the country our year.
At Cuse?
on KenPom.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
I think we were the number like 230th defense, but we were a top
Cool.
15 offense.
For those who don't understand what it is, it's basically a live daily ranking of teams 1 through 362 in the country, and it just flips every year. And then if you click on each team, it has their numbers: offense, defense. There's a luck category. There's a ref rating like metric, like to see like which refs you're gonna get and how they call games. Typically, it's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. People love it on Twitter and shit. I just have never like gotten into it myself. I didn't know you were forking over cash to Kenny, but I might have to start doing that.
It's worth it. He does a great job.
All right, now we're shifting gears over to the Big Ten. I got Purdue winning the Big Ten tournament, but what is their March Madness hopes looking like, Jake Marsh?
Well, they're Purdue, so that's where you have
Is that
to.
another one?
They're similar to. I said this on the Titus show a few weeks ago. Purdue is Tennessee in the tournament. Purdue just loses earlier every year, it seems like. They're such a trendy pick to win it all or go to the Final Four, and they both just lose early. Tennessee loses in like the Sweet 16, and Purdue loses in the first weekend. Like,
Right.
obviously, Fairleigh Dickinson, they lost to North Texas, they lost to St. Peter's. It's like their losses in the tournament are wild, but they're another one of those teams. It's like now or never. You have quite literally the biggest player.
Right.
It's like if they don't break through now, their fan base is probably just going to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't blame them.
No, yeah, I definitely would too. But what would you say to people that are gonna fire up their bracket and have that exact same thought? Like, why, in theory, would this team be different than teams of the past?
I think, for one, a lot of those guys, similar. I know the Virginia storyline of losing to 16 and winning is a big one, but I think there's a lot of value in these guys going through that experience and how traumatizing that was, and knowing like how humiliating and embarrassing it was to lose that game and everyone making fun of you. Oh, same old.
Yeah.
So like, there's quite literally nothing else that can give you more motivation than that, and the fact that they're going to be in nearly an identical spot this year as a 1 seed. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if behind the scenes, like Matt Painter's calling up Tony Bennett, asking like, "What'd you tell your guys? Like, how did this help you guys?" Because they're the only 2 teams to ever have gone through it. No one's ever beaten, lost to a 16, except Tony Bennett and Matt Painter. And you're gonna have a spot where they're gonna be in an identical spots 5 years later. So that you just have to try. If you're a Purdue fan, you just have to hold out hope that motivation is gonna get them over the hump. And again, if not now, I don't know when.
I just think they're just going to be on very, very high alert, right? They've beaten good teams all year. They've been the best team in the Big Ten all year, and they're going to be on high alert. I think the biggest question of the whole entire college basketball season has been Zach Edey's supporting cast.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to, when the team starts triple teaming Zach Edey in the tournament, Are they going to be able to make those 3-point shots and make those high-pressure shots when it matters, right?
Yeah,
And
Braden Smith's been awesome, too. He's one of those guys where it's just like, all right, you're going to have to do something. I guarantee you guys, honestly, unless Purdue loses to the 16 seed, there's a good chance they beat the 16 seed team by like 50 because they're going to treat that game as if it's like the national championship.
Exactly.
I remember Virginia was down to Gardner Webb at half.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that.
But yeah, I think as long as they like get loose, like Purdue might win that game by a historic amount.
Yeah, that would be unreal if they lost again.
Yeah, Virginia almost did.
That would be so funny.
Yeah.
So Purdue in the Big Ten. Is there any other teams that you like in the Big Ten?
Big Ten's down this year, guys.
Well, Big Ten's the most hyped up conference every single year. They do nothing in the tournament.
Yeah,
so
but they usually get like 8 teams in.
Exactly, 10 teams.
But this year, I love Big Cat, but Wisconsin's awful.
They stink now.
They're like 2-8 in their last 10. Illinois is the only other team, really. I guess I like Nebraska has been a fun story.
They have been.
They've been bad for a long time, and Tominaga, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a fun player. So I guess that'll be a nice story. Northwestern obviously is usually bad, but besides that, Michigan State flopped this year for the most part. Like they were preseason number 4, I think. Ohio State's been solid since they fired their coach.
I know.
They've
gotten some big wins,
including Purdue. I remember what they did in the Big Ten tournament last year. They were one of the lowest seeds, and they won, I think, 3 games in 3 days to make it to the semifinals.
They made it to semifinals, yeah.
Yeah, so it's weird. We always think of bid stealers as mid-majors. There might be some power conference bid stealers the way the ACC are shaping up this year. Like Duke and UNC and the Big Ten, Illinois and Purdue are really like the only like locks for those 2 conferences. So like all it takes is for a middle of the pack team like a Syracuse or a Pitt or like a Wisconsin if they get hot again or a Northwestern Nebraska team to just like take a spot, which will kill someone.
Definitely, man.
Absolutely. My last question, Jake. This has obviously been amazing again. We appreciate you taking the time on your Monday night. But so last time you were on was right before the season started. We gave our predictions. I think I said UConn. No, I said Arkansas, which is hilarious in retrospect. They're like 15 and 16.
I don't know what's happening this year.
Yeah, it's just like not going as anyone expected. But it's obviously impossible to predict before the bracket comes out, but like do you have any teams that you're like, all right, when the bracket drops, they're in my Final 4, I'm gonna have this team.
Guys, have on file what I said at the beginning of the season?
I meant to go back and look, and I did not.
All right, well, let me know.
I know, Cole, you said Marquette. I said Arkansas. Yep. I forget who you said, Jake.
Yeah, I don't know who I said.
Bad hosting on our part. That's all.
Oh, it's all good. I should remember that stuff too. I mean, besides the obvious teams we mentioned, like UConn, Purdue, are going to be 1 seeds. I think UNC can make another run. Mm-hmm. Like we said, veteran team. Baycott and RJ Davis have been there before. Poor Mac Ryan. Cole, you know about him playing in the ACC, formerly at Notre Dame. If there's any way for UNC to fly under the radar, they're kind of doing it, right? Because those locks of 1 seeds are getting a lot of the hype. They already beat it Duke. They play Duke again this weekend. They also lost to Georgia Tech. They might be the best bad team out there.
Yeah, they have like 12 wins, and 3 of them are awesome wins.
And UNC.
Yeah.
I will say this though, Damon Stoudemire has done a lot with the roster that he has.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think he's gonna build a really good program.
I know they're in a transition period, but yeah, UNC guys, I think they could do it again.
Yeah.
At least make it to the Final 4. Because I know, you know what? Last year, everyone was expecting them because they're preseason number 1. They missed the tournament after going to the championship game. But now they have, in large part, the same core pieces.
Right.
Don't have any pressure compared to last.
No.
So they're going to end up being like a 2 seed probably. And they might be my pick as of now.
Last team I want to ask you about. They're kind of similar to Kentucky, but Arizona.
That's my pick to win the championship.
I love watching them play. I don't love Caleb Love. It just depends on the game with him. But what's your thoughts on Arizona? And they obviously lost to Princeton last year in the first round, so they have a little bit of a vengeance coming for this year.
Arizona has the most forgotten 2 versus 15 loss in college basketball history because it happened the same day that FDU beat Purdue. So everyone forgets about that game. So that's a great point. I don't, because they were my pick to win it all last year. It was the second straight year. So fun fact about my bracket when I release it. The last 2 years, my champion's been knocked out day 1.
Wow.
2 years ago, I had Kentucky. They lost to St. Peter's on Thursday night. Last year, I had Arizona. They lost to Princeton on Thursday afternoon. So if right now I'm taking UNC, there's a good chance they're a 2 seed playing a 15. That 15 is going to win.
Right, yeah. Before we're like eating dinner on Thursday night, they're headed home.
It's a true. I'm honestly rooting for it at this point. That'd be a great storyline. Just to have my champion. I love college basketball. I watch all these games. Just to have my champion knocked down on day 1 3 straight years. That's like hard to do.
Yeah, it's more impressive than getting it right 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree with that, Patty.
Yeah. But Cole, to your point, Arizona, obviously they're awesome. Caleb Love, former UNC guy. Ballo. It's just a tough barometer because RIP Pac-12, but we don't know how good that is. So they beat Duke in the non-conference. They beat Alabama, but that was in November, December. And obviously in terms of resume, those still carry as much weight. But in terms of how good you are once you leave conference play, it's hard to judge. I mean, the Pac-12, UCLA is bad this year. USC is bad this year. Like, how many teams are they going to have? Right now, Lenardi has 2 teams in the Pac-12.
Who is going to be in the turn? Oh, I guess the Mountain West has like 12 teams in.
Mountain West has 6 right now. They're having a good year.
Yeah.
Big 12 too, because remember the Big 12 got
Big 12 is
BYU, and then the SEC.
It's just kind of hilarious. This is the problem with like college basketball as a whole. Always struggles with like the product itself, but right now we're on our 5th conference in a row where we're like the conference just sucks this year. It's pretty down.
But right now he has 9 from the Big 12, 7 from the SEC.
9, wow.
He still has 6 Big 10. I don't know if that'll hold. But most of those teams.
Lenardi loves the Big 10 though. He loves the Big 10 every single year. He has like 9 to 11 teams from the Big 10 every year. It's ridiculous.
He rules. He's one of the best guys in the world.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. But step 1, and obviously if you're listening, you already know what happened. Step 1 is beating Clemson for Syracuse.
Right.
I'd be shocked if they beat Clemson and they're still not like the next 4 out. That would have to shoot them up to some sort of consideration because right now they're not getting any.
Yeah, we're not really even asking for much from Lenardi. Like, we're not saying like put us in as a 7 seed right now. I want when they flash the graphic up to just see that.
I want consideration.
See the block. Yeah, I want to see the block S when they do the next 4.
Because if you have consideration, you know that each win you have, you'll keep moving up.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're not even considered, so it's an uphill battle. But a conference road win against a potential tournament team is a good start.
Jake, you're the man. Appreciate you again. Appreciate you for all you've done for the Swider Show and letting me into the Barstool headquarters. Last thing that Patty wanted to ask you about, Patty, this is your stage now, the 41 straight.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this also right when you got on, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that listen to this show that also followed the 41 free throw stream, and you were there for like live on scene the entire time. Can you just give like a behind the scenes, some tidbits of that entire process?
Yeah, so the day after the Super Bowl, Barstool announced a huge partnership with DraftKings. Obviously, the next chapter of the sports betting partner for Barstool, and to help like raise awareness and promote Barstool and DraftKings, we did a marathon stream where the group had to hit 41 free throws in a row. 41 because it was actually the Heat, I think, Cole. The NBA record of most consecutive free throws made as a team. I think it was 40, so they went for 41. And it took 16 hours. We were there overnight. Pat Bev, who obviously is in the NBA, he had just gotten traded to Milwaukee the week before. Milwaukee's only an hour and a half drive. So he got in the car with his crew and came and helped us out. This is the night in between a back-to-back.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just insane. He drove down, helped us out for like an hour and a half, and then drove back to Milwaukee and played the next night after playing.
Yeah, didn't he leave at like 3 a.m. because he got there at like 1?
No, he left at a reasonable hour. He was there probably from like 10 to 12.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was way later.
And I don't know how it works with you guys and your sleep schedule. Is that like crazy? If he's in bed cold the night before a game at like 2 a.m., that's fine, right?
I mean, they definitely didn't have a shoot around that day. You know what I mean? So he probably didn't have to be at the arena until 4:30 p.m.
Right.
So.
Plenty of time to get your 8 hours in. But yeah, long story short, we finished it at like 7 or 8 a.m. local time. We had a few guys who aren't even affiliated with Barstool come in just because like we were desperate for help. But yeah, there were mulligans involved and some stipulations. But at the end of the day, it ended up making for very nerve-wracking but exciting day.
The fucking sweater, I'll send you if you haven't seen it. But the Mantis clip, clips are
hilarious.
You know, LeBron.
Pat Bet actually talking about Mantis was like one of the funniest clips I've seen in very long.
What up, Twin?
But the way he shoots is.
But he's
bananas.
so wet.
I know he does. He missed like twice in 3 hours. That and the kid that Jerry had come in, and then he missed like 8 in a row. Was
Jerry called him the ringer. He started warming up, and he was like 0 for 8.
That's so funny.
But we had my guy from UNH come in. He DM'd us, and he was so good. He was, no joke, he was probably like a 95% clip for the hour or two he was there.
Wow.
He actually was a ringer. But
yeah,
Titus too. Titus put on for the walk.
Titus was great.
I was so proud watching that.
Yeah.
But this actually begged the question. I had this debate with some of my friends from home. We were saying, Swider, how long do you think our Cuse team it would have taken us to do that?
Well, how many can you shoot at a time?
What do you mean?
The player can, if you're a really good player, you can only make 10 in a row before having someone else come in.
And basically,
probably take us an hour and a half. Hour?
Yeah,
Right.
D1 team, like you guys, like what's the most you've ever made in practice? Do you know?
Well, we used to shoot. Was it a 1-and-1 or just one shot, Patty, at the end of practice?
it was a 1-and-1. The walk-ons didn't have to do it, thank God.
Yeah, so we'd have our scholarship guys do a 1-and-1. Everyone had to do it. If you missed, you had to run up and back. I think we did once where no one missed, and besides that, everyone we would have to run.
Well, that was the other stipulation. Was like Portnoy had to shoot, what was it, 15?
So he had to
30,
do 15, 30, and 41, which is the last one.
Right.
And then Big Cat also was mandatory to make 2. So there were some rules that made it more difficult. But yeah, I would imagine right now the Heat team, you guys would be done in under like what, 30 minutes max?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say if you're letting Tyler shoot 10, Duncan shoot 10, and me shoot 10, and even like I'd probably say 30.
But the thing is, like the
45
worst free throw shooter on the team would have to shoot 3 of them, including
Right.
the last one.
Yeah.
It's just
No, that's true.
It's just a funny debate to think of, like that it would take maybe multiple hours for an ACC school, and it was like you guys doing it.
Did it somehow.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I was watching. I thought it was never.
I
I thought it was gonna be like 8 days. I was like, this is never gonna actually happen.
No, once we brought in our UNH guy,
Yeah.
Scott, we knew we had a real chance. Between him and Titus and then Iowa
Yeah.
State guy who just became full-time, he drove overnight from Ohio. So it was a great team effort for sure.
So funny.
Definitely.
But
Well-
yeah, that was my last cue.
Yep, Jake, appreciate you, man. This is gonna be airing Thursday, so thanks again, man. Thank you guys for listening to episode 62 of the Swider Show. Obviously, a great tournament update, great from our college basketball insider, Jake Marsh. Signing off now.
I'm reckless, I'm dumb, according to you, but you don't know shit, huh? You don't know how I move. I'm rolling, I'm smoking the dope. I ain't telling lies, baby, you know that I'm the truth.